Perfect. Just before we jump in, I'm going to introduce myself. So my name is Kiri Spanovich, and I'm the Communications Officer for 50 Shades Greener. If you've been with webinars with us before, usually it is me doing all the talking, but I'm lucky enough that today I get a break, and we've got Paul covering for me. So Paul, this is Paul McSherry, and he works for KALDEWEI. Is that how you pronounce it, Paul? KALDEWEI.
It's KALDEWEI. Yeah,
KALDEWEI.
good.
Yeah, true, because it's a German brand. So I will go ahead and let you finish introducing yourself so I don't butcher any more names. But welcome, and yeah.
Thank you very much, Kiri, and welcome everybody. I'm delighted you've taken the time to join this afternoon. I know 50 Shades Greener for quite some time. I'm also an ex-student of theirs. I did the Green Manager course late last year, earlier this year. So indeed, I have a certificate in my hand, thanks to FSG. Why we were asked to talk today is that my company, KALDEWEI, the company I work for, should I say, we're a sanitary ware manufacturer based in Germany, and we are probably the most sustainable brand in our sector. We're certainly an accredited leader. I myself come from a background of development, hotel, resort, branded residence, real estate. So we feel that we have a very strong case to put forward, and we have examples to back that up. But the point is, today we're going to talk about how the embodied carbon affects hotel development. We're taking hotels for this, but it could be any form of real estate. And I'm going to talk you through that with some actual real examples. So hopefully you'll have plenty of takeaways from today. We're also addressing the problems when you've got real estate, you've got value engineering coming in. How does the carbon impact your carbon footprint? How does that look? How does that affect? And also, how does it affect and how does it work within one of the global hotel companies at the moment? So without further ado, I will jump in on what we call sustainability is a business decision. Now, I'm not sure, again, how things are looking on your side of the screen, but we have real estate players need to incorporate both climate-related risks and emissions into their valuation, decision-making, operations reporting, and pricing. And that comes from McKinsey back in June 2023 of 2022. It's a very salient point. It kind of encapsulates everything that within hotel real estate people need to take a point of, that it's not just about climate-related risks or emissions, but it's the asset value. And the asset value, I can tell you from experience, far outstrips the operational value. Now, Kiri, you tell me if we're not seeing the right screens or whatever, but hopefully that's all pretty clear.
You're good.
At KALDEWEI, we talk about future-proofing. So future-proof companies are sustainable. I'm going to talk about more focused on the balance sheet and the business of sustainability rather than the ethical or moral judgments we're trying to do to save this ever-warming planet of ours. KALDEWEI itself, we've been around since 1918. On your left-hand side, you will see this was an advertisement with our logo on it, which actually talks about being poison-free. So that's our first sustainability reference back in 1930. So quite some time ago, in 1930, we referenced the fact that we were environmentally friendly. Our products are made from two key ingredients: steel, iron ore steel, and enamel, which is glass frit, crunched up, and we melt it onto the steel. And that in itself is the simplicity of the product. So our products are 100% circular: wash basins, shower trays, and also bathtubs. So, and as you can see, the photographer Brian Adams and Rockstar, he actually loves our stuff because he indeed himself started off with our stuff, I think, back in his studio in Canada many, many years ago. And that's how we came to be working together. So we have a reasonable credibility in that. We're also accredited by MindClick as a sustainability leader who analyzes every year what goes into our products. We have environmental product declaration forms, which EPDs. We've had that since in early 2007, I believe, which is before anybody else. We've signed up to Paris-based agreements. We're the first sanitary ware company there. We have cradle-to-cradle accreditation coming through. They've already said we're at bronze. We'll probably go higher than that. So we are LEED accredited as well. So all of these expectations are independently saying that we are indeed what we say we are. So we are very proud of our status as being highly, highly sustainable. And the point, so as I'm talking to you about embodied carbon, is these products are 100% circular. So therefore, they continue to be melted down and used in their entirety forever and a day, basically. So that's a really key point. Let's move on into the presentation about embodied carbon. Unsurprisingly, from hotel development, I've taken, and this could be a part hotel, it could be, if it also affects large scale residential, etc. But we're going to look at the hospitality industry. We're going to take the issue of a bathroom. But before we do that, we'll look at a study that was made in Western America by LMN architects. They analyzed embodied carbon from interiors. And what they found that in a 20-21 year period, if you have a hotel typically refurbs times, you're looking at a higher carbon footprint on the interior refit outs than the actual shell and core of the building, which is quite eye-opening. But that is indeed fact. So we see that interiors and what you put into your building does matter an awful lot. Okay, moving on, we're going to talk about the asset case for sustainability. And this is one of my favorite slides because it encapsulates what we're talking about today. Again, let's talk about the business of sustainability. And this is what asset managers will look at, is when you're an investor, you are now in the United States, for example, that you have to have a whole section on sustainability brought in this year when buying or selling a hotel. And if you try and buy or sell a hotel without going through the uniform system, the USALI, you can't really. It's the standard for the sale and purchase of hotels. So they are putting an incredibly high profile on being sustainable within the report. Then you have the carbon risk trajectory. So investors will look forward and say, what is the risk to us? Where are the carbon time bombs, if you will? Where are the problems in this particular piece of real estate that we may have to fix to meet legal targets, to meet governmental targets, company targets, etc. So that is where are the costs based in that. When you then move into development, never forget that 80% of your carbon emissions are in scope 3 supply chain. So scope 1 is what you burn on site. Scope 2 is what the energy and the materials that go into bringing the goods to your site to make your product. And scope 3 is where the products are in situ and throughout their life. So for example, if we put a bathtub into a hotel, what is the scope 3 emissions for a bathtub for its longevity? Very, very low, for example. But also in development, you're now looking at EEA mandatory legislation that's come in this year. It's a green asset ratio. It's for the ratio of your assets on your balance sheet that are actually green, and those are for the larger companies for the sake of ease of explanation. And then you've got the banking book taxonomy alignment ratio, which again is for the smaller businesses. Same sort of thing. They're looking at the ratio of your assets and how green are they. So this is coming in whether we like it or not. Within asset management, when you look at, aside from labor and property maintenance costs, aside from labor, utilities and property maintenance costs are possibly the highest. They call them, they're looking at about 12.1% in the USA. I'm talking to hotel and asset owners, and it's higher than that. So you want to look at what you're putting into your building and how many times you're having to change, refurb, fix, repair, etc. What we have found is, and this is data from JLL and all the sorts of people, that buildings with a BREEAM outing. So BREEAM is similar to LEED, for example. It's another way of evaluating the sustainability or the green ratings of a building. So when we see buildings with BREEAM outstanding ratings, which is the top recorded rent premiums between 4 and 11%. So again, you're getting more for your money as an owner, and hit 100% pre-leasing compared to 50% for standard properties. So in essence, what they're saying is, if you have an accreditation from BREEAM, which says you are sustainable, etc., and it is one of the many rankings platforms out there, you rent for more, and you also rent quicker when you have a change of tenant. Two things that are huge cost bases for asset owners. So again, we're starting to see how sustainability pays off on the balance sheet. One more ahead. And then when you dispose, when you sell, which quite often with hotels, that can be in a 5 it can be as 5 years, it can be as, you know, if it's typically I've worked into funds and they talk about maybe a 10-year sale, or if it's a family-owned business, it could be a lot longer. But what has come out is since 2016, green certificate assets have sold for an average of 11.5% more than those without certifications. Now, 11.5% on a 100 million deal is something that makes people sit up and look. So, you know, it has that value to it. And then when we're looking at taxonomy and more legislation, this is an example of new legislation coming in from America that is happened in, it's called the Local Law 97. It's in New York. And Local Law 97 has said that there are 50,000 buildings that have been identified that need to meet their energy and output requirements, basically under sustainability umbrella. What is happening is that 47,500 of these, they're all over a certain size, by the way, it's 25,000 square feet, but over a certain size, and most hotels are in there, most of them are. But those who don't will be heavily taxed until they change all their out-of-date ventilation systems, aircon systems, etc. So that is a way that sustainability is also rolling in, not just through EEA taxonomy rules and laws coming in from the European Union, and no doubt in Britain and Ireland as well, but also you have taxonomy coming in from the local legislators, for example, New York. I particularly think that's something that's going to hit high dense population cities like London, for example. Okay, hope that's all okay so far. Keep an eye on the chat. Kiri can keep an eye on the chat for me. Another part of this presentation is I want to actually address a hotel room carbon emissions case study. Now, this was publicly announced earlier on this year, and it's a hotel in Germany. It's a 4-star hotel in Germany. The owner doesn't want. I'm going to keep it anonymous for now. But this German hotelier had a refurb and decided to try and find out what his carbon footprint was like, and to try and calculate that. So this is not perfect. Every hotel is different. But it's a great start. It's a great basis to look at something. It's mid-range, it's mid-scale, probably closer to 4-star, I would have said. And what we see is that we've got furniture, we've got fixtures and fixtures, which, by the way, bathroom fixtures in there, slightly undervalued, if I may say, if you have to replace any of those, but still a good look into what does this actually carbon weight look like. And as you can see, it starts to add up. And from that, the case study refurbishment footprint is between 450 kgs to 960 kgs, which, you know, 1,000 kgs, give or take, is a ton of carbon. I would safely say that any refurb of any hotel room that I'm seeing at the moment tends to be slightly higher than 960. So if you take it as an average of a ton of carbon per hotel room, that's a lot. And this does not go into to talk about if you have to take away certain items and bring them to landfill as well, or incineration, or repurposing, or whatever. So, you know, this is quite, you know, I guess it's a fairly fluid case study, but still very, very useful. And that actually, as I said, came out earlier on this year. So what I want to do is look at one part of a hotel room. And as you can probably be very unsurprised by the fact that this is indeed a hotel room with a shower tray, as you can see on your right-hand side. We have one of our lovely grey, beautiful shower trays, floor level. And this is one piece of furniture. So looking at EPD data that is out on the web, readily available, we look at 1 ton of carbon is roughly about just over 4,000 car kilometers. And that's a calculation from the US Environmental Protection Agency. So if we take that as a basis for a calculation, taking the data on each of these products, we then start to see a rather interesting picture. If we look at a mineral cast shower tray, or shower surface as we call them, mineral cast is a very popular, usually resin mix, plastic mix of all sorts of different things. Not quite as utterly environmentally unfriendly as, say, acrylic, but it is used in many different shower tray iterations. And we can see that one of their shower trays is published at about 120 kgs, 120.5 kgs of carbon, versus a KALDEWEI steel enamel tray at just over 42, nearly 43 kgs of carbon. So the difference there is just nearly 78 kgs difference between, which starts to add up when you look at a hotel room, a hotel of approximately 200 rooms. So from that, very quick say, the savings are about 15 and a half tons, which is a lot, just thinking of a 200 bedroom hotel. And then if you look at that again, that gives you in total 62,526,000 car miles. And that is on one piece of furniture, one piece of furniture within your bathroom in a hotel room. Okay, so we've got bigger and smaller hotels, but you can only imagine what that is. So 62,500 car is a lot of car kilometers. Moving on, then we look at what is the impact. Let's do this on a bigger scale. The carbon emissions in bathrooms for a 200 bedroom room hotel. We know cast for a shower tray is about 62,500 car miles. If we were to use a steel enamel bathtub and instead of other options, then we see that there's 240,000. So the saving is even, the differential is even bigger. And if we use wash basins, it's nearly 23,000 car kilometers of savings. So that is a heck of a lot for one 200 bedroom hotel. And when we add up all of those savings, we're looking at nearly 326,000 car kilometers, which is for one hotel, for one refurbishment or one new development. This is what you're putting in using steel enamel over a very popular, but not that environmentally friendly at all, composite stone. So I'm just trying to impress upon you all that there is a difference when you look at it. And I can promise you that the asset owners and the advisors are now getting very much more savvy towards this. And they will be looking to say, what has gone into our hotel and how do we represent it? That equates, I'll just go back, 326,000 car kilometers equates to circumnavigating the world more than 8 times. And that is just for one hotel room, one hotel, should I say. So that, I think, is a fairly frightening number of the impact that a choice can have on just 3 pieces of furniture within a hotel room. Okay, and I hope you found that interesting. What is happening today, and it's a rather simple slide, it comes from our friends at MindClick, and it's a live case study, which basically shows that looking at the carbon emissions from their FF&E was 36% below average in comparable to other products. So what they did is they looked and they went through their system and they found that using 33% of their products, they also saved themselves a heck of a lot on, if you look at it, it's 36% below average of what it would have been should they have bought from the normal standard suppliers. But what they did find was the impact of carbon emissions, the reduction in FF&E manufacturing is 60 times greater than the equivalent from hotel operations. And that's probably the slide here to remember, is that this slide is showing that within your supply chain, you have, for example, it's 60 times greater saving by getting your supply chain more environmentally friendly and less carbon footprint, then going towards your standard operators. So for example, if you take the cars on the road, this supply chain will save over nearly 5,700 less cars. And in operations for a year, that equates to 97 cars per year. And if you were to divide one into the other, it would take operations something like 58 years to catch up to the embodied or the supply chain carbon that has been saved by selecting sustainable suppliers. And those are just different variations on the theme. But as you can see, that is, we hear a lot about saving on water, electricity, etc. The impact of what you're putting into a building cannot be underestimated. And there's a huge saving to be had. And also, this goes towards asset value, as we talked about earlier. Okay. This is a review of a reflective view of what has gone into a building. This again is by MindClick, and they're able to report on what, on your procurement, your scope 3s, your waste, your circularity, your healthy interiors, your social responsibility. So when people say, but is this really coming alive? Is all of this reporting coming alive? This is a classic standard report now, looking back at what has gone into a hotel and what is sustainable. Have they achieved leader, achiever, starter, or not rated within the MindClick system? KALDEWEI, for example, are a leader. And in this instance, we've got someone like Ulster Carpets, who's a leader, and how they, they are then scored within this whole process. So this gives carbon accounting a real crystal clear view of what's gone into a hotel and how you performed. We'll look at how does this affect into the hotel world. Well, this is an MSAP 2025 FF&E sourcing goal. This is by Marriott. It is publicly available data. It's published in their reports. And they have put the target out by 2025. They want 51% of their FF&E products must be evaluated by MindClick and score a leader level to be allowed into their program. And again, this is quite a strong target for all suppliers into Marriott to have a very high leader rating with MSAP. So it's quite a powerful, clear indication. And Marriott are doing a fantastic job on that situation by using rating to help development. And again, that comes from the Marriott Serve 360 to 2023 report. And finally, we'll look at what Simon Mundy said from the editor of Financial Times recently. It's quite a big statement, but those who do it right in terms of sustainability will be surfing the wave of the single biggest economic transformation and one of the biggest opportunities in the history of human civilization. That's quite a statement. But this sustainability, this new world we live in, is such an opportunity. It really is. Yes, there is a humanitarian side of it that is incredibly important. But as a business, as we say, future-proof businesses are sustainable. So I hope that has been of use to you guys. You've had some questions from that. You've got something from it. You've got my contact details there. Kiri is available for us. I've known MindClick. I've known the gang at 50 Shades for a long time. But I'd be delighted to answer any questions you should have. So I'll leave you with that, and I think I'll stop sharing unless there are any questions.